I just got back from a bike shop. I had to take my little girl's bike in. We only bought the bike a few days ago, but already some few issues with the brakes and the gears and whatnot. So I took it back in, had the boys look at it, and they were, replacing some stuff and whatever, and just chatting to the fellas while they were doing it. And I'm kind of looking around the shop, and it's a different world out there, right? Like, it's not your typical gym bros, let's say, that are in there. These completely different group of people, right? They're not into weights, weightlifting, powerlifting, and all that. These boys are about biking, cycling. And a few of the fellas that were there in the next aisle, they were buying, I don't know what, some specialized equipment or whatever. And they looked like they are pretty good at riding bikes, like endurance stuff, right? Anyway, so I'm just sitting there waiting for my little girl's bike to get done, and I'm just kind of wandering around, checking out the inventory, looking around, and I noticed that one of the fellas that was a bike rider, he looked like he was a freaking bodybuilder. He could have passed like a bodybuilder in terms of his lower body development. Like, his legs were full, quads were full, calves were full, very developed, very, let's say, appealing bodybuilding aesthetics. And I mean, I don't know anything about him, but if he's, buying that kind of equipment, he probably spends a lot of time on a bike. Now, I'm not saying he's got a big upper back and, biceps, triceps, all that stuff. I'm not saying any of that. But in terms of leg development, it stood out to me. Somebody that goes to the gym a lot and thinks about muscles and power output and all that performance business, I do appreciate other genres of human movement. And so when I see something like that, it kind of strikes me, and I'm like, that's interesting. Without knowing anything about him, I probably can confidently say he doesn't squat a lot of weight. The reason why I say that is, like, that upper back is not developed. I didn't see massive glutes. I didn't see like huge adductors. I mean, I didn't check this guy out like that closely, but when you see a bodybuilder, powerlifter walk in, they have a certain type of posture. They have a certain type of, gait about them. I'm not saying I'm an expert, like, reading body posture and all of that to think that I know exactly what his numbers are, but it doesn't strike me like a strong person, like as in barbell strong. I'm pretty sure he can climb a mountain like nobody's business on a bike. But he just started thinking, it made me think about Arthur Jones. You remember Arthur Jones, the Nautilus machine company developer, founder? He's the guy that had a lot of influence, a lot of people in terms of, like, training once in a blue moon and then going hard, all out sets. And he also believed that you should train legs once a freaking fortnight. He believed that legs should be trained with very, very high repetitions. He believed that the lower body is made for endurance. The upper body is made for short bursts of power. And so that's what he thought is the best way to go about it. Now, in my own experience, I know when I did do high repetitions, my legs feel out like nobody's business. And so here is a guy who is climbing a mountain for fun on a bike. How many repetitions is he getting through? Thousands upon thousands of repetitions. And so this is kind of in the ballpark of Arthur Jones's idea. I'm not saying Arthur Jones said cycling was the way to go. I'm just saying in terms of, hundreds and hundreds of repetitions, that's kind of falling into that, super high repetition rep range for bodybuilding purposes. This is just bodybuilding purposes, hypertrophy conversation. And I know my brother-in-law, he's got a fancy bike as well, and he's spent a lot of time on the bike, climbing, all sorts of stuff. He used to do hundreds of kilometer rides, that kind of stuff. And I remember at one point in time when he was at his peak, he had these huge quads. Now I'm not talking about quads like near the hip quads. I'm talking about like near the knee quad. And there's a distinction with that. The teardrop muscle was very, very developed for him. Like extremely developed. Interesting thoughts, interesting ideas. Interesting for me, somebody that can squat 220, walk into a shop like that and not have the biggest legs. It's interesting to me. How does the endurance guy have bigger legs than me? So it makes me think that this hypertrophy ratio to power is always something that is up for discussion. But man, you put these two people, me and the other guy, and have randoms, people that have got no idea about performance and training, and ask them who can squat more. I think most people would say he could squat more. Even though, like, most people just think quads, right, when it comes to squats. But for me, man, it's the glutes, it's the adductors, it's the lower back, it's the upper back. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not even thinking about quads as the limiting factor for me. But it's just interesting, on the cover, that guy squats more. You know what I mean? Like, he's got that development. And I just find it interesting. It's another distinction in my mind of kind of, somebody that has the cap of bodybuilding aesthetics, chasing quads, versus somebody that's purely performance orientated. What can I squat? What can I deadlift? It's kind of weird how the approaches are different, and sometimes the look is different, but obviously the outcome is a lot different. He can climb a mountain like nobody's business with bigger legs. I can squat more weight than him with smaller legs. Interesting, but thicker, stronger back. I think that's the important thing here. Appreciate you guys. I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.